Have you ever looked at a map of the United States and wondered why huge chunks of the country seem practically empty? It's not just your imagination. Nearly half of America's landmass is sparsely populated, and in this video, we're diving into the 9 empty states that people just aren't moving to. But why? What's keeping people away from these massive stretches of the country? From harsh weather and economic decline, to limited job opportunities and lack of infrastructure, these states are facing major challenges that make them less attractive to new residents. While they might offer wide open spaces and affordable housing, many Americans are still choosing to live elsewhere. And today, we'll show you exactly why. Stick around as we explore the real reasons behind America's population imbalance, backed by data, trends, and eye-opening insights. Whether you're curious about rural life, real estate, or national migration patterns, this video will change the way you see the U.S. map. Let's get into it. State 9. Nebraska. Nebraska may sit right in the heart of America, but when it comes to population growth and long-term livability, the state is falling behind. While it boasts a low cost of living and a strong agricultural backbone, Nebraska struggles to attract and retain residents, especially younger generations. The state's rural communities are shrinking fast, with small towns losing residents to larger urban centers, both within and outside the state. Despite Lincoln and Omaha making efforts to modernize, the overall population trend has remained flat or declining in many areas. A major factor behind Nebraska's stagnation is the limited economic diversity. Outside of agriculture, the job market is narrow, with few tech, creative, or high-growth industries. This lack of opportunity pushes college graduates and skilled workers to move elsewhere in search of better pay, more dynamic work environments, and greater career potential. At the same time, aging infrastructure, healthcare access issues in rural counties, and limited entertainment or cultural options make it difficult to retain new families or attract newcomers from out of state. Then, there's the climate. Nebraska is no stranger to extreme weather. Harsh winters, hot summers, and frequent tornadoes make it a tough sell for people used to milder environments. And while the quiet, small-town life appeals to some, many Americans today are looking for more connected, vibrant, and future-focused communities. All of this contributes to Nebraska being one of the states where fewer people want to live, and why it's slowly becoming one of the most overlooked and underpopulated places in the country. State 8. North Dakota once made headlines for its booming oil industry, attracting workers from across the country with promises of high wages and plentiful jobs. Towns like Williston and Dickinson grew rapidly, and housing demand soared almost overnight. But that boom was short-lived. As oil prices fell and drilling slowed, many jobs vanished, leaving behind abandoned homes, struggling small businesses, and a population that had swelled too quickly. What was once seen as a new frontier of opportunity has now become a cautionary tale of economic over-reliance on a single industry. Outside of the oil fields, North Dakota remains largely rural and underdeveloped in terms of infrastructure, amenities, and job diversity. While cities like Fargo and Bismarck offer some urban comfort, much of the state lacks access to high-quality healthcare, higher education, and cultural attractions. For younger residents, this translates to fewer opportunities for career advancement or social life, prompting many to leave for bigger cities. Even remote work hasn't made a big dent, as harsh winters, long travel distances, and limited internet connectivity in rural areas remain major barriers. Speaking of winters, North Dakota's climate is another major deterrent. Brutal cold snaps, blizzards, and wind chills that regularly dip below 30 DEGF make the state one of the least hospitable in the country during winter months. The extreme weather not only affects daily life, but also adds to living costs, from heating bills to weather infrastructure maintenance. Despite its natural beauty and low crime rate, these factors make North Dakota a tough sell for long-term living, and a key reason why it remains one of the most sparsely populated states in America. State 7. South Dakota. South Dakota is often admired for its natural beauty, with landmarks like Mount Rushmore, the Black Hills drawing in millions of tourists each year. However, when it comes to living there full-time, the picture is far less appealing. Much of the state is made up of small, isolated towns with limited job prospects outside of agriculture and seasonal tourism. While cities like Sioux Falls and Rapid City offer more amenities and employment options, the vast majority of the state remains economically stagnant, with little to attract young professionals or families seeking long-term stability. One of the biggest challenges South Dakota faces is its slow economic diversification. Wages are generally low, and outside of healthcare and a few regional employers, there's minimal industrial or technological development. Many high school graduates either leave the state for college or move away after finishing school in search of better-paying jobs and more vibrant communities. This outmigration of young talent leaves behind aging populations and shrinking tax bases, making it even harder for rural areas to maintain schools, hospitals, and public services. Adding to these issues is the state's harsh climate and limited infrastructure. Winters can be long and unforgiving, and in many parts of the state, access to specialized healthcare, entertainment, and advanced education is minimal or requires hours of travel. While South Dakota does benefit from no state income tax and a relatively low cost of living, those perks aren't enough to overcome the lack of opportunity and isolation felt by many residents. As a result, despite its postcard-worthy landscapes, South Dakota continues to see low population growth and remains one of the more overlooked and underpopulated states in the country. State 6. Wyoming. Wyoming is known for its breathtaking natural beauty, with iconic landscapes like Yellowstone National Park, the Grand Tetons, and wide open plains that stretch as far as the eye can see. But while it may be a dream for outdoor enthusiasts and tourists, living in Wyoming full-time is a very different story. The state is the least populous in the U.S., and much of its land is made up of remote, rural areas with little access to services, infrastructure, or economic opportunity. Outside of a few towns like Cheyenne and Casper, Wyoming can feel incredibly isolated, a major downside for those seeking community, convenience, or career advancement. The economy in Wyoming relies heavily on energy production, particularly coal, oil, and natural gas. While these industries have provided strong revenue in the past, they're now in decline as the U.S. shifts toward renewable energy and environmental regulations increase. This economic dependence has left the state vulnerable to market fluctuations, resulting in job losses and budget cuts to essential services. Aside from energy and some agriculture, there are very few other industries in the state, which means limited job options, especially for young professionals or tech workers. Many high school and college graduates simply leave for states with more dynamic economies and urban amenities. Climate is another big hurdle for Wyoming. Long, frigid winters and high winds are common, and snow can pile up for months in certain regions. These conditions not only make everyday life more difficult, but also drive up heating and transportation costs. The sparse population and low demand for housing also mean that property values often stagnate, making real estate a less attractive investment. While Wyoming does have some financial advantages, like no state income tax, these benefits are often outweighed by the challenges of isolation, limited opportunities, and a struggling post-energy boom economy. As a result, despite its natural wonders, Wyoming continues to see sluggish population growth and remains one of the most underpopulated states in America. State 5. Montana. Montana has long been admired for its majestic landscapes, from the towering Rocky Mountains to the sweeping plains and crystal-clear lakes. Often referred to as Big Sky Country, it attracts outdoor lovers, nature photographers, and adventure seekers year-round. In recent years, Montana experienced a surge in popularity, especially during the pandemic, as remote workers sought quieter, more scenic alternatives to crowded urban centers. However, this surge came with unintended consequences. Housing prices in cities like Bozeman, Missoula, and Whitefish skyrocketed, pushing out many longtime residents and making homeownership increasingly out of reach for locals. Despite its growing visibility, Montana still faces significant challenges that contribute to its low population density. Much of the state remains rural and underdeveloped, with limited access to healthcare, public transportation, and higher education outside of a few major towns. Job opportunities are often tied to seasonal tourism, agriculture, or small-scale service industries, which don't provide the kind of long-term financial stability many people seek. As a result, while some new residents are drawn by the scenery, others, especially young adults, are leaving in search of better career prospects and a more diverse economy. Montana's harsh climate also plays a role in its declining appeal for long-term living. Winters are long, snowy, and bitterly cold, while remote areas can go for weeks without easy access to essential services during storms. Internet access and modern infrastructure still lag behind national averages in many parts of the state, making it difficult for remote workers or businesses to thrive outside urban centers. While Montana offers peace, quiet, and natural beauty, the combination of rising living costs, limited opportunities, and environmental hardships make it a difficult place to settle permanently, contributing to its status as one of America's most sparsely populated states. State 4. West Virginia. West Virginia, once a powerhouse of the American coal industry, has struggled to reinvent itself in the face of economic and demographic decline. Decades of reliance on coal mining created a single industry economy that collapsed as energy markets shifted and automation reduced the need for manual labor. Entire communities that were once thriving mining towns are now marked by abandoned buildings, struggling schools, and dwindling population. Despite efforts to diversify its economy, West Virginia continues to face some of the highest poverty and unemployment rates in the nation, making it a less attractive option for families, professionals, and young graduates. Beyond the economic challenges, infrastructure and public services across much of the state are severely underfunded. Many rural areas suffer from inadequate health care, limited broadband access, and poor road conditions. Many developing countries are sectioned off from outdoor activities and produce little public investment in food supply. And poor incentives for urban development come to the focus. Educational attainment is also lower than the national average, and the state consistently ranks low in health outcomes, exacerbated by the ongoing opioid crisis that has hit West Virginia especially hard. These factors make it difficult to attract new residents or businesses, and contribute to a cycle of decline that has proven difficult to reverse, despite state and federal revitalization efforts. While West Virginia is undeniably rich in natural beauty, with its rolling hills, dense forests, and scenic rivers, it remains one of the most underpopulated states in the country. The outdoor lifestyle appeals to some, especially retirees and adventure seekers, but harsh winters, geographic isolation, and a lack of economic mobility continue to deter large-scale migration. Without major improvements in infrastructure, education, and job growth, West Virginia is likely to remain on the list of states where few Americans are choosing to live, despite its potential and charm. State 3. Alaska. Alaska is one of the most awe-inspiring places in the United States, known for its vast wilderness, towering mountains, glaciers, and wildlife. It offers a lifestyle that's deeply connected to nature, with opportunities for hunting, fishing, hiking, and adventure that few other states can match. However, despite its natural beauty, Alaska remains one of the most sparsely populated and least desirable states to live in year-round. The sheer remoteness of most communities means that access to basic services like healthcare, education, and even groceries can be limited, expensive, and heavily dependent on weather and transportation availability. The cost of living in Alaska is significantly higher than the national average, especially in rural and remote areas where goods must be flown in or shipped over long distances. Everything from fresh produce to fuel can come with a hefty price tag. While the state does offer certain financial benefits, like the permanent fund dividend that pays residents a yearly share of oil revenues, these incentives often aren't enough to offset the high living expenses. Job opportunities outside of government, energy, and seasonal tourism are limited. making it difficult for many people to build sustainable careers or long-term wealth in the state. Then, there's the climate. Alaska experiences some of the most extreme weather in the country, with long, dark winters, sub-zero temperatures, and heavy snowfall. In northern towns like Barrow, Utqiagvik, the sun doesn't rise for over 2 months during the winter, a phenomenon that can be difficult for many to endure. Seasonal depression and isolation are real challenges in many Alaskan communities. While the adventurers may find the lifestyle appealing, most Americans are deterred by the physical, emotional, and financial demands of living so far from the rest of the country. This combination of remoteness, high costs, and environmental extremes keeps Alaska firmly on the list of the least populated and least settled states in America. State 2, Mississippi, located in the Deep South, is steeped in rich cultural history, Southern hospitality, and musical heritage. Despite these cultural assets, the state faces significant challenges that have contributed to a long-term population decline. Mississippi consistently ranks near the bottom in key quality-of-life indicators, including healthcare, education, and income levels. Many residents struggle with limited access to quality medical care, underfunded public schools, and a lack of upward economic mobility. These systemic issues make it difficult to retain young people and professionals, many of whom leave for better opportunities in neighboring states. The state's economy is another major obstacle to population growth. While agriculture and manufacturing are important sectors, they don't offer the high-pay, high-skill jobs that attract and retain a modern workforce. Mississippi has one of the highest poverty rates in the country, and job growth has lagged behind the national average for years. In many areas, especially rural counties, economic development is slow or stagnant. The lack of infrastructure, such as reliable broadband internet and transportation networks, further limits the state's ability to attract new businesses and residents looking for connectivity and convenience. Mississippi also struggles with public perception and lingering social issues. Racial disparities, high crime rates in certain urban areas, and political instability have contributed to an image problem that makes the state less appealing to outsiders. Even though the cost of living is relatively low and housing is affordable, these benefits are often outweighed by concerns over quality of life, job prospects, and access to modern amenities. As a result, Mississippi remains one of the least populated and least migrated to states in the U.S., with many of its residents continuing to seek a better future elsewhere. State 1. Kansas, often called the Sunflower State, sits in the heart of America, with vast prairies and a strong agricultural tradition. While it offers affordable housing and a relatively low cost of living, Kansas faces significant challenges that have contributed to a steady population decline in many of its rural areas. Small towns and farming communities are shrinking as younger generations leave for bigger cities or other states in search of better education, employment opportunities, and modern amenities. This migration trend has created ghost towns in some parts of Kansas, where entire communities have dwindled to just a handful of residents. One of the state's biggest hurdles is economic stagnation outside of its few urban centers like Wichita, Overland Park, and Topeka. While agriculture remains a key industry, automation and consolidation have reduced the number of farming jobs. Other sectors, such as manufacturing and energy, provide some employment, but overall job growth has been slow and wages remain modest compared to national averages. This economic landscape makes it difficult to attract and keep young professionals and families who seek dynamic job markets, career advancement, and a vibrant cultural scene. Amenities often lacking in many parts of Kansas. Additionally, Kansas experiences a mix of challenging weather patterns including tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, and hot summers, which can be tough for residents to endure year-round. Infrastructure issues and limited access to health care in rural counties further compound the state's population challenges. While Kansas benefits from a central location and affordability, these positives haven't been enough to reverse the trend of outmigration. As a result, Kansas remains one of the states with declining populations in many areas, making it one of the less desirable places for many Americans to settle in 2025. Conclusion? So, why is half of America empty? From economic struggles and harsh climates, to limited job opportunities and infrastructure challenges, these 9 states face unique barriers that keep people away. While each has its own natural beauty and cultural strengths, the combination of these factors makes long-term living difficult for many. Understanding these realities is key to grasping the shifting population patterns shaping the United States today. If you're thinking about where to live or invest, knowing which states are struggling to attract residents can save you time, money, and stress. These empty states aren't just empty by chance. They're the result of complex social, economic, and environmental forces at play. As America continues to evolve, watching these trends can offer insights into the future of urban growth, rural decline, and the changing American landscape. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into fascinating topics like this. Drop your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Do you agree with this list? Would you consider living in any of these states? Let's get the conversation started.